The morning began like any other in the palace, with routines carved in marble and expectations unfolding like clockwork. Sheikh Hamdan moved with his usual grace, the calm prince who lived by rules he crafted for the balance of his heart and the order of his world. But beneath the calmness, something restless stirred, a quiet storm waiting for a moment strong enough to break the silence he'd built around himself. He never imagined that this would be the day his rules would crumble, not under pressure, not under duty, but under something far more powerful, love. He had always kept love at arm's length, wrapped in poetry but never in action. His rules were simple: never reveal his heart, never let emotion drive him, never allow vulnerability to reshape his path. Yet those rules began to tremble the moment he saw her standing before the horses in the training arena, brushing her fingers through the mane of a mare with a tenderness that felt like a prayer. She didn't know who he was, didn't bow, didn't tremble, didn't pretend. She simply existed with an authenticity that pulled him toward her like the tide pulled the moon. He approached her with caution, not because he feared her, but because he feared himself. Her presence lit something inside him he had spent years keeping dimmed, a warmth he hadn't allowed to grow. He spoke to her, expecting the usual distance people kept with royalty, but she responded with ease, laughter spilling from her lips like an unguarded melody. That moment, simple yet profound, cracked the first of his self-imposed rules. He found himself returning to the stables more often, each time telling himself he was there to check on the horses, not to see her. But his heart knew the truth long before he dared to admit it. There was something about her, a calmness that disarmed him, a sincerity that made every rule feel suddenly unnecessary. He began to crave conversations with her, moments shared in shadows of palm trees, the soft echo of her voice lingering long after she walked away. One evening, as twilight painted the sky in shades of lavender and rose, he found her alone, gazing across the open desert as though listening to secrets carried by the wind. He stood beside her, close enough to feel her presence but far enough to pretend he wasn't crossing boundaries. She turned, eyes reflecting the fading light, and for the first time, he felt his heart slip out of the cage he had built around it. She asked him a question so gentle, yet so direct, that it shook the foundation of every rule he had ever lived by. "Why do you always hide your true self?" she whispered. It was a question no one else dared to ask, one that peeled away the layers he'd spent years constructing. He wanted to tell her the truth, that vulnerability terrified him, that love felt like surrender, that he feared the world would not understand. But the words refused to form. In that quiet, trembling pause between their breaths, he realized he could no longer pretend. The wall he had built to protect himself was no match for the tenderness she offered. And so, without meaning to, without planning to, he broke the rule that had guided his heart the strongest. He allowed himself to feel. Truly feel. Love didn't roar into his life, it unfolded like the slow opening of a sunrise, warm and unstoppable. Every time she smiled at him, every time she spoke without pretense, every time she met his gaze without fear, his carefully crafted rules dissolved one by one. He found himself doing things he had sworn he'd never do, waiting for her, seeking her, thinking of her more often than he thought of his responsibilities. One night, under a sky so full of stars it looked like the heavens had spilled their secrets, he finally confessed the truth he had kept locked inside. He told her that she had become the voice he heard even in silence, the thought that comforted him during the heaviest days, the presence that reminded him he was human before he was royal. He admitted that loving her meant breaking the very rules that defined him. She listened, eyes softening with an emotion he had never seen directed at him before. She didn't respond with shock or fear, she responded with sincerity. She told him she never sought to change him, never intended to pull him away from his path, but that she saw the man beneath the title, the soul behind the crown. In the days that followed, he found himself walking pathways he once avoided, those that led straight to vulnerability. He began to see the world through a softer lens, noticing subtleties he once ignored, the way her laughter filled empty spaces, the way her presence steadied him even in silence, the way her honesty felt like a sanctuary no palace wall had ever provided. It was as if love had awakened a dormant part of him, revealing layers he never allowed even himself to touch. She, too, noticed the shift in him, the gentler pauses, the more thoughtful glances, the way he seemed present in a way she had never seen before. There was a newfound serenity in him, something warmer and more open than the controlled elegance he presented to the world. She didn't rush him or question the pace of their unfolding. Instead, she allowed him to discover the depth of what he felt at his own rhythm. And the beauty of that patience made him fall for her even more deeply. But love, no matter how pure, comes with its own storms. One evening, she voiced her fear, not fear of him, but fear of the world he belonged to. She told him she worried about the eyes that watched him, the expectations that weighed on him, the whispers that could complicate what they shared. He listened closely, realizing that while he had broken his own rules for love, she was terrified of breaking her own boundaries for a life she never asked to be part of. Instead of withdrawing, he stepped closer, gently taking her hands as if they were something sacred. He told her that love was not supposed to imprison either of them, it was meant to free what had been locked away for too long. He assured her he had no intention of letting the world dictate what they could or could not feel. The rules he once lived by had shattered, and he had no desire to rebuild them. Not when the truth in his heart felt stronger than any boundary ever could. His words washed over her like a warm tide, dissolving fears she didn't know how to articulate. She realized then that he wasn't asking her to step into his world, he was inviting her to walk beside him, both of them navigating the unknown with honesty as their compass. It wasn't the life she expected, nor the love she anticipated, but it was something rare, a love courageous enough to stand in the open, even when shadows lingered around it. As the desert winds whispered around them, he made a silent vow, not the kind bound by responsibility, but the kind bound by the heart. He vowed to protect this love, to nurture it, to allow himself to experience the softness he had denied for so long. He didn't care that this path broke